One of the major issues that came out of today's meeting of the APC's National Executive Council is the president's announcement of his plan to reject the cabinet and appoint more members for boards of parastatals. To bring some perspective to the issue, I'm being joined on the news at 10 by legal practitioner Daniel Bwala. He's in Abuja. You're welcome to the news at 10. What do you make of the decision by the president to expand his cabinet at this time?
Well, thank you for having me. A lot of people ask the question whether the decision to expand the cabinet is constitutional. And I've always, I laughed at the contrary opinion. It is constitutional. And you know, what the president actually said was that some of the ministries that were compressed into one are the ones that are going to decompress. Take, for example, if you look at power, it is 3 in 1. If you look at transport, it is also 3 in 1. And there are other ministries that have similar compression. So that is a good idea as far as APC as a party is concerned, because it will bring in more APC members to fill in political posts. This is without prejudice to other appointments like that of the boards and everything. But the president has to be careful to be sure that those he appoints into ministries, parastatals, or agencies of the government have to be competent and creative team players and people with ability to think on their feet. Because you cannot mortgage, for example, efficiency and reviving of the economy at the expense of rewarding the party. It is quite obvious that the meeting and some of the decisions of the president is geared towards appeasing the party members, which is not a problem to strategically position them against 2019. But the president has a contract with the nation called Nigeria. Some of us have asked the question, what happened to the ministries in existence but are redundant, that are ineffective and inefficient? What happened to the ministers and some of his appointees at the moment who are not effective and are not creative at all? The president has not said he is going to sack ministers. He has not said he's going to relieve ministers or appointees of position. He merely said he's going to add to it. And so when you add to inefficiency, when you have inefficiency multiplied by 2, the resultant effect is going to be a bad one. So the president is enjoined to critically look at efficient and competent people in the party to appoint them into the various posts.
Well, I see 2 issues coming up here. The one is the timing of the expansion of the cabinet, and the second is whether the new appointments will reflect federal character, which has also been one of the criticisms facing this particular government.
Right. Well, for the principles of federal character, I think it's constitutional. And if you violate that, I think that is actionable in law for the aggrieved regions or whatever. Because the Constitution says that the composition of the government of the federation must be carried out in such a way that the principles of federal character will be reflected. So, and I think that the president is careful about that, especially because of the wake of his meeting with the southeastern people who have agitated for a long time that they've been left out in government, even though that is debatable. We were told in the meeting he was able to advance an argument to them to understand that, in fact, out of the 5 southeastern states, 4 of the 5 are substantive ministers, while some of the northern states had just minister of state. So I believe that the president will be sensitive and careful enough to reflect the principles of federal character in the appointment. As for the timing, I think it is strategic on his own part to look at, one, building on the momentum of the achievement he has mentioned in the meeting, for instance, and then looking at 2019, so that even if not for himself, but for the party as a whole, to 2019, the party will have to show that they have been effective overall for them to be able to have a resounding success at the polls. So I don't have a problem with the reshufflement. My major concern has been, and it bears repeating, that there are existing ministers and appointees that are not effective. President should relieve them, and they should be grateful to him that he has kept faith with them even though they have not been effective. For example, we can mention agriculture, we can mention finance. When you look at extra-ministerial department, you can mention EFCC, you can mention custom. These are names and ministries or departments that when you mention, people are excited about the development there. But aside from that, and maybe 1 or 2 other ones, which other ones can you boldly point at and say it is effective? And most of them hide behind this fact that because they do not have budget or they do not have enough money. But ministries, that's why the quality of a minister must be one that is creative, that is innovative, and has the capacity to galvanize private participation so that that ministry can be expanded to improve on the economy. The president will have to look at that.
Daniel Bala, thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.